Hi there, welcome to the vehicle finance unit. We'll begin with purchasing a brand new vehicle. One of the advantages of purchasing a brand new vehicle is you get all the wonderful warranty, but one of the disadvantages is that you lose value as soon as you drive it off the lot. So here we're going to buy a brand new Prius for $43,000, and the car's value itself is going to depreciate by 16% in the first 2 years. So what's the resale value? So first of all, we have to figure out what's the value that we lost. So we're going to take that 16% and make that into a decimal. So you're either moving the decimal point 2 spots to the left, or you're dividing by 100. So we're going to take that 16% and we'll find that 16% of, or multiply it by our $43,000, which it was, that's the original value. So the value lost is going to be $6,880 lost over the first 2 years. So the question is what's the resale value? Another way of saying that is how much is it worth? So it used to be worth $43,000. Now we'll minus off the $6,880 that we lost. And so the current value would be $36,120. So if they wanted to resell it after 2 years, they would have to be arranging for a price of about $36,000. So this price here that we use, this value is the pre-tax, loan value. It's the actual cost of what it's worth in the store. So for depreciation, it doesn't matter how good or how bad your loan is. You always use the actual manufacturer suggested retail price for this. We do want to always calculate for tax. So generally we'll be using Manitoba in our examples, but you'll see in the hand-in there's a variety of taxes. So this is part of the notes. Manitoba's just got a change, so it probably says 8 there. But we went down to 7. So a total of 7 for provincial sales tax and 5 GST to make 12% in Manitoba. You can pause the video and write this down if you need, or just find it in the notes. So in our question here, we're looking at Alberta. Alberta has no PST, but they do have the GST. So we'll look at 5% tax. So for an after-tax price, we want to find out what is 5% as a decimal. So if we divide that by 100, or move the decimal place, but make sure you move it over and you're filling it in with a 0. So we've got 0.05. Now, we also want to have 100% of the price. So if we add that together, that becomes 1.05. That's going to give us 100% of the price and 5% tax. So to calculate the after-tax price, we'll use that 1.05. So all of the price and 5% tax, and the $43,000 that the Prius cost. So in Alberta, this car would cost $45,150. In Manitoba, so in Manitoba, we would use 1.12 times the 43,000. that same car would cost $48,160. So it's really important in the questions to see where the person is, where the scenario is, because it'll affect the tax that you're picking. So here's the big question now. Feel free to pause this to read this through and look it over. Lots of details in the question, and there's a cat. All right, cat's gone. Sorry about the cat, but so quite a few steps actually to solve this question. So here we have a dealership that's doing a trade-in. They're doing $1,000 trade-in for the vehicle. And what we want to know in the end is how much interest we're going to pay. So these 4 steps are going to be important every single time we do these scenarios. But to be honest, every scenario is different. Sometimes there's a trade-in. Sometimes there's no down payment. Every scenario is going to be a little different. So we kind of have to look for the keywords in the question, identify them, and pull them in. So initially for our vehicle cost, we can see that we're going to be in Manitoba. We know that's 12%. So our tax. And this whole thing, base price minus trade-in, is within brackets. So the base price of the Prius is $43,000, but they're offering $1,000 for my old vehicle. And using BEDMAS, so that orders of operations, we really have to do the brackets first. So the very first step is going to be to do that subtraction, because they're not going to charge me $43,000 anymore. They're giving me $1,000 off because of my trade-in, my old car. So it's only worth $42,000 now. And when we tax that, we have to come up with $47,040. Now, I have got a down payment, so I can pull this down into my next formula. But I do have a down payment ready. So going back to the question, I see the down payment, I see the value of $4,000. So I can subtract off the $4,000 cash that I'm ready to pay. And what I get left with is the amount that I need to borrow. So if this sounds familiar to you, if this sounds to you like home finance, it absolutely is. We had our down payments for our houses. This is the same scenario for the cars. And then like the monthly mortgage, here we have our loan payment. So in this case, we want to find out how many months are we paying this for. So 6 years, 6 times 12. So we're going to have 72 months of payments, and every month is going to be at $650. So we can expect to pay over the next 6 years $46,800 paid. And now we're just carrying down our values. So we borrowed $43,000 in order to finalize the deal. We paid back $46,800. So if we subtract that, we see that our total amount of interest paid was $3,760 in interest, or extra money that we spent. This is nothing like our home finance questions where we were spending $300,000 in interest, or certainly $37,000 in interest. This is not going to be anywhere near that, because we're not borrowing that kind of money. So